can I just say one thing firstly? I love the name Eat Sleep Boxing Repeat.
Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. It's me, Niall. Delighted as always to be joined by Danny, and we're here for a preview of a big super flyweight unification bout between the WBC champion, the phenomenal Jesse Bam Rodriguez, and the dangerous South African challenger, Phumelela Cafu, across the WBO champion, having stunned Kasai Tanaka last time out in Japan. So yeah, Dallas, July 19th, it's going down. Super flyweight unification belt, and I cannot wait for this one. Danny, let's jump straight in. First of all, I hope you're well. Yeah, Bam is back. We were just talking off camera there. I think me and you might be the biggest two Bam fans at ESBR Boxing, to be honest with you. What is your thoughts on this fight? You know, what was your thoughts when it was announced? And without giving a prediction away yet, how much of a threat do you see Cafu being to Bam?
Yeah, cheers, mate. I'm really looking forward to this one, like yourself. I think it's a fight that because it's a date clash with Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios, it's going under the radar. I was going to say somewhat, but completely, and you can understand why the wider media attention will be on Pacquiao. But for me, I'm looking forward to this fight more, tenfold. And in response to your question on Cafu, I do think he will pose more of a threat than perhaps the majority of people. Certainly, Turkey Al Sheikh, who's gone ahead and announced Bam versus Fernando Martinez, with this fight still very much to take place. I remember watching that fight with Tanaka and Cafu and was really impressed, as you alluded to. Tanaka, three-weight world champion, was an overwhelming favourite going in there, and Cafu, unproven, hadn't boxed. I don't know if he'd ever boxed out of Africa. Certainly, no more than a handful of times, and put on a brilliant performance. Dropped Tanaka heavy early in that fight. He's got power. He's got a bit of everything. Can go forwards, can go backwards. Good feet, and I think the key thing here, Niall, is you could make an argument. I'm not saying I would necessarily be one to make it, but this is the first world level fighter Bam has fought in their prime or close to their prime. As good as the names of Rung Basai and Estrada and Carlos Cuadras are, they were very much on the back nine. And you look at Sonny Edwards, and yes, he wasn't as checked out as he was in the Yafai fight, but his legs seemed to leave him pretty early in that Bam Rodriguez fight. And when you take away Sonny Edwards' legs, you've conquered more than half the battle, in my opinion. So with all that said, this is a fight with definitely a lot of intrigue for me. One you do have to make Ban a favourite in, of course, but yeah, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, actually a very interesting point that you make, and you could be right. It could be the first in prime kind of world champion or world level fighter that he's fought. So it will be interesting to see how he fares in this one. To be honest with you, as you say, the names speak for themselves, although they were past their best. But the way he's just dispatching people like they don't even belong in the same ring as him is crazy. It really is. Like the the Estrada fight. I know he got put down in that, but apart from that, we've never seen anybody dominate Estrada like that. He's a phenomenal fighter. He really is outstanding. So yeah, you also made a good point which we were discussing there. There seems to be kind of future plans, big plans to hang in the balance for Bam. So we'll discuss that in a minute. But yeah, just give us your prediction for this one. We spoke about when we both agreed that Cafu is a threat. As you say, he can punch, he can box, he is quick, he's coming in confident. What's your kind of final prediction on this one? Who comes out on top in this super flyweight unification fight?
I think you do have to go with Bam Rodriguez. I think if Bam wasn't to win, it would be a very big shock. I think that would be a shoe-in for upset of the year, and I don't see that happening. However, I do think Cafu will give him something to think about early. If he can land early and make Bam feel that power and maybe stop that marauding pressure, those pivots around the target that we saw Bam, particularly last time out when he just destroyed Guevara. I don't think it'll be that early. I think Cafu's got enough. He's fresh, and that's the key for me. He's fresh compared to the last, three fighters, really four fighters that Bam's shared the ring with. So in that mind, I'm gonna go Bam. I do think you'll get the stoppage, but I think it'll be a bit later than we saw recently, even a bit later than Estrada. So I'm going to go Bam Rodriguez around 8 or 9 to get a stoppage here, but not perhaps without some troubling moments. As you alluded to, he can be. Well, he got dropped. I don't know how badly hurt he was, but he can be hit and he can be put down. And Cafu's a good long crisp puncher. I wouldn't be surprised if he did have pockets of success early, but ultimately I think 99% of the fans and pundits will be in agreement that Bam Rodriguez will probably be too much for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard to find a reason to disagree with that, to be honest with you. As you say, I do think Cafu will kind of cause him problems early. And if Bam was to kind of dispatch Cafu early, I think it would be a wow performance. But he's done it before, so who knows? He could do it again. But as you say, yeah, I just think he's too well rounded, and I think it will be quite later on. So I'll go Bam stoppage championship rounds, even a bit later, 10 to 12, that sort of range. But yeah, it's kind of it's an interesting one that, you know, we're saying that it'll be a huge upset when he's facing an unbeaten world champion, and he'd still need a huge upset to pull this off. That's the phenomenal talent we're talking about with Bam Rodriguez. But yeah, we're both going for a Bam stoppage in an early competitive fight, but he'll show too much class late on. So yeah, just before we wrap up, we have to talk about it. We're recording this the day after, a brave move by Turkey Al Sheikh to announce this fight, another unification fight with Puma Martinez in November 22nd. Of course, the Argentine also going to Japan and upsetting Kazuta Ioka twice. So yeah, it's mental. I don't like it. I don't think either of us like the kind of disrespect to Cafu, but if Turkey looked ahead, let's look ahead ourselves. We're both picking Bam for this, so you know when he do if he does fight Martinez, how do you see that fight going?
Again, you have to favour Bam, although that's the best fight in the division, 100%. You could argue, well, you could make a very strong case for actually that Martinez has got the better wins at the weight with the 2 wins over Ioka, pound for pound fighter, potential Hall of Famer himself. And again, Fernando Martinez is definitely a world class fighter, very much in his prime. Big puncher, aggressive, although I think technically there are multiple levels between him and Bam Rodriguez, particularly when you look at the feet. I mean, we've done a couple of videos reacting to Bam, and it feels like the thing we always sort of wax lyrical about is the feet. I think he's got the best feet in boxing, and I think that would prove the difference and will prove the difference if and when that Martinez fight does happen in November of this year. I think it'll be very entertaining. I think after that, I'd like to see Bam, push up. I know we feel like we're in a generation now when we're prematurely calling for fighters to move up the weights, but I don't see a great deal else for him at Superfly. I don't want to see him fight Chocolatito. I'm glad after the talks that could be next after Estrada that was on the back burner. I think we all know how that would end, and yeah, this is the fight. I think this would be the potentially the toughest fight of Bam's career. And it's one I do think he would come out on top, but never know, man. Cafu could shock us, could shock Turkey, but I don't think so.
Yeah, Cafu will certainly, there's no bigger motivation for Phumelela Cafu
100%.
than that announcement last night. He should have it on the wall, that fight poster on the wall, every day between now and fight night. But yeah, if it is to be Bam and Martinez, I agree with you. It's an outstanding fight, probably his biggest threat there. I think maybe the aggression of Martinez would kind of favour Bam more and lead to an early stoppage there, but it'd be fun while it lasts. It really would. So yeah, I think Bam, if he is to come through this, will prevail against Martinez as well. And just quickly before we wrap up, you did mention there, there isn't many threats left for him at super flyweight. So let's look ahead even further. I have to ask you, if he was to move up in 2026, Bam and Junto, my two favorite fighters in the world at the minute, probably. That's a dream fight. Who do you have winning that?
Oh Jesus, that's a tough one because I'm of the opinion that I think if Nakatani was to move up and fight a new, I would probably favour him at this stage. Although Bam, I think, is a very different stylistic test. Oh, I'd probably favour Bam. On points. I think he'd have Nakatani's got good feet too, and he's long, but I think Bam would have a good style for him. That's not a pick, I'm saying, with any degree of confidence. They're two of the you could argue that the two best fighters in the world under 30. Nakatani and Bam is very much could argue that. That's for your boxing hardcores like me and yourself, that's one of the best fights to be made in the sport. Unfortunately, I don't think it's one that's gonna happen because Nakatani, as he should, is chasing that, monster fight with Inoue, that all Japanese clash. If you ask me now, I would lean Bam on points if that fight was to happen at 118 pounds, say later this year, early next year.
Yeah, it is. It is phenomenal. I'm also glad that I wouldn't be the only one picking Junto against Inoue, but yeah, that's there's a lot of potential super fights there. So I agree. I can't really see it happening more so for Junto and Inoue, but yeah, it'll be a dream, and I'll remain on the fence for that one until it's
Ah, you
announced.
can't make me do a prediction.
No, I go Junto then, just for the sake of being different. I'll go Junto with no degree of confidence whatsoever. But yeah, that's for another day, I suppose. A lot of boxing in the meantime. Before that, but yeah, that was just myself and Danny with our preview for this weekend's huge super flyweight unification bout between Jesse Bam Rodriguez, the pound for pound star, WBC champion, as he faces off against Phumelela Cafu, the WBO title holder in Dallas. Yeah, sure to be an entertaining one while it lasts. So let us know what you think. Is it another Bam win? Can Phumelela Cafu upset the odds and upset Turkey Al Sheikh? Let us know what you think. Get involved down below, and as always, don't forget, drop a like on the video first of all, subscribe to our YouTube channel at ESBR Boxing, and follow us on all social media. Danny, it was a pleasure, and take care.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, folks.